Good morning, beloveds. Ooh, let's see if my voice is going to work today. All right. You can kind of see the cat over my shoulder. I'm waiting for him to lay down, but I don't know that he's going to. But that's because there's a cat. You can't see who's in the way. Most likely what will happen is he'll get tired of listening to me and he'll trot out of the room for a little while. So we will see. All right. It is January 30th. Our title is, I know that every apparent death is resurrection. Therefore, I gladly die to everything that is unlike good. Ooh, that's a heavy topic to start off the day. The first quote is, Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of the death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Psalm 23:4. Unhappy is he who makes mistakes for the branch of the tree, the shadow for the substance. That is from the Talmud. Gain for yourselves, ye sons of spirit, by means of these transitory things that are not yours, that which is your own and passeth not away. Fragments of a faith forgotten. I'm going to have to look that one up. All right, the quotes have been really interesting from that one. Okay, we are told that we must gain a knowledge of that which cannot pass away. The Talmud says that unhappy conditions arise when we mistake shadow for substance. Even the valley of the shadow of the death causes no fear when we arrive at the consciousness of the psalmist, who, from the exaltation of his divine deliverance, proclaimed, Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. The rod and the staff of truth is the realization of the substantiality and the permanence of that which cannot change. We are ever renewed by the passage of the divine light through our consciousness. Behold, I make all things new. The revitalizing, regenerative power of spirit flows from the consciousness of wholeness into our physical organism and into every objective act. When we give realization to the divine presence of the divine... Start that sentence again. The revitalizing, regenerative power of spirit flows from the consciousness of wholeness into our physical organism and into every objective act when we give the realization of the divine presence free passage through our thoughts. Emerson tells us that in these moments we are conscious that we are isolated beings, are nothing, but that the light is all. Thus he admonishes us to get our bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuit. How wonderful to realize this possibility to which he refers, non-resistance and non-burden. Let us then learn to let the burden slip from the shoulders of personal responsibility and enter into our divine union with enthusiasm. I know that every apparent death is a resurrection. Therefore, gladly today I die to everything that is unlike good. Joyfully I am resurrected into that which is beautiful, enduring, and true. Silently I pass from less to more, from isolation into inclusion, separation into oneness. So yesterday, Ernest and Raymond were clear, and today they are metaphorical. Today they are speaking in divine riddles, which is what makes our job that much more interesting and I'm going to say interesting. I'm not going to say difficult. I'm going to say interesting, because sometimes they are plain spoken, because they can be, and sometimes they're talking about things that are harder to to talk around, because the truth is, we die a lot of little deaths all our lives. We do. When we grow, when we change, when we suddenly reverse directions and realize that this is not who I am, when we come to the spiritual realization that we are children of God, when we start living that life, we die. But we don't know what's on the other side of what we consider in the material to be the final. And notice that I said in the material, because Ernest does not believe that when we shed the mortal form that we die. He firmly believes that we evolve into a new plane of existence, that we move on, and so we don't know what's beyond that. But that is what makes talking about death interesting, which is why we use metaphors, because we don't know. We don't know. And he wasn't afraid. I mean, you can go back and listen to any of his, the Seaside. He went there to dedicate a church, and when he did that, the veil thinned for him, and he saw the other side. But the problem is he couldn't articulate it. He had just lost his beloved Hazel, and so when we talk about death, it's always going to sound strange. It's always going to sound strange. It's always going to sound metaphorical. It's always going to sound like we're reaching a little bit. So that's why yesterday was like, just, hey, this is what it is. And today it's like, all right, here's what we believe. And some days you're going to get that. Some days you're going to get, here's what we think. And some days here's what you're going to get, here's what we believe. And frequently the difference is with think you have evidence that you can point to. And with belief, well, that comes from faith. And I have defined faith as imagination plus trust. You're imagining what is on the other side and trusting that it is so. And imagination really is a superpower. If you talk to Einstein definitely considered imagination a superpower, because there's a quote from him, and it's something to the effect of, pardon me while I paraphrase, that knowledge will take you to a certain point, but imagination will take you everywhere. So that's what we're looking at today. We're looking at a little bit of faith. So, because that title is heavy. I know that every apparent death is a resurrection. Therefore, I gladly die to anything that is unlike good. Everything that is unlike good. We put it out of our lives. We put it out of our consciousness, because it's not who we are. And we focus on the good, because that is who we are. That is what we are made from. We are made from the good. So you can take the quotes as they are. The first one is the Psalm. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. The material world is that. We're not going to stay here. Or at least if we stay here, we're not going to stay here like this. So, I will fear no death, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. By knowing who we are and knowing what we're made from, it is comforting. Knowing that we are beloved children of God, it is comforting. So, there you are, Psalm 23:4. Unhappy is he who mistakes the branch for the tree, the shadow for the substance, and that is the Talmud. Go back to is it Plato's cave? It's like, how often are we focused on the shadows without ever turning around and seeing the light that casts the shadows, and seeing what's real? This world is but a shadow of what is. It's a tiny fraction of what the divine is. And yes, we live here. And yes, there's stuff to do, but it's up to us to realize that there's more. So much more. Gain for yourselves, ye children of humanity, by means of these transitory things which are not yours, that which is your own, and passeth not away. That is Fragments of a Faith Forgotten. It's weird. That's why I said I want to look it up, because all the quotes they use from that are just strange. Okay, so we are told that we must gain a knowledge of that which cannot pass away, which means knowing who we are. It is. It is about knowing that the divine mind, the divine idea, the divine, because the material is merely an idea in form. And our very teaching, the little circle V, things are always coming from mind, ideas are always coming from mind into form, and they're here for a brief period of time, and then they go back to idea, go back to the mind. So what we need to know is the mind, not the form. Because you see, the bottom of the V is a lot smaller than the top of the V. Alright. The Talmud says that unhappy conditions arise when we mistake the shadow for the substance, when we get too focused on the material. Even the valley of the shadow of the death causes no fear when we arrive at the consciousness of the psalmist, who from the exaltation of his divine deliverance proclaimed, "Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me." The rod and the staff of truth is the realization of the substantiality, big word, and the permanence of that which cannot change, which is the divine nature. We are ever renewed by the passage of the divine light through our consciousness. The divine light through our consciousness. Behold, I make all things new. Yes, that is a quote. The revitalizing, regenerative power of spirit flows from the consciousness of wholeness into our physical organism and into every objective act when we give the realization of the divine presence free passage through our thought, which is a big long sentence. Sorry, run and read off. There's a big long sentence that basically means there's a divine idea of us, or what I like to call God's idea of us, or what Amit Goswami calls the bliss body. There's a divine idea of us. And when we accept that, or as they're calling it, the divine light, when we let that idea come through our consciousness, then anything is possible. Physical wholeness is possible. Now, what that looks like for you is going to be different than what it looks like for me. But anytime we are in a situation where we need, and I'm going to use the word healing, then where we want to go back to is God's idea of us, the divine idea of us. Because the divine idea of us is whole. Our idea of us, and that is what spiritual practice is for, to go back to God's idea of us, to familiar ourselves with that wholeness, to nurture that relationship with that divine light filtering through our consciousness. Emerson tells us that in these moments, we are conscious that we are isolated beings, are not. Emerson makes me crazy. Emerson tells us that in these moments, we are conscious that we are isolated beings, are nothing, but that the light is all. God's idea of us is the truth. Our idea of us is a partial truth. Thus, he admonishes us to get our bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuit. Which, being the daughter of an electrical engineer, makes it sound like we're gumming up the works. So we get this fixed idea of who we are, and God's going, no, you're so much more than that. So, get your finger out of the circuit. and let the energy flow. How wonderful to realize this possibility to which he refers: non-resistance and non-burden. Which then again, the daughter of the electrical engineer goes, okay, resistors are put in there to slow the energy down. Take the resistors out of the circuit. Let us then learn to let the burden slip from the shoulders of personal responsibility and enter into our divine union with enthusiasm. Which you find ironic that you're dealing with a teaching of personal responsibility, but the truth of who you are is not your responsibility. That is God's responsibility. So if you want to know who you are, then allow the personal responsibility of maintaining who you are to slip. Allow God in for that. There are very few times that Ernest will say, let your personal responsibility drop. But he's not saying, let your personal responsibility drop. What he's saying is, it's bigger than your personal responsibility. Let the divine hold your personal responsibility for who you are. Which is a beloved child of God, by the way. I know that every apparent death is a resurrection. Therefore, gladly today I die to everything that is unlike good. I let go of every idea that is not whole, that is not loving, that is not complete, that is not harmonious. I let go of every one of those ideas and embrace who God thinks I am. Joyfully, I am resurrected into that which is beautiful, enduring, and true. Silently, I pass from less to more, from isolation into inclusion, separation into oneness. All right, Ernest, you made me work for it today. I'll be kind of glad when the basics are over. All right, beloveds, the mission for today, I saw it in here, and I'm going to use that really long sentence. When we give okay, sorry. Rita distracted me. When we give the realization of the divine presence free passage through our thoughts, that's what I'm using. Okay, but I'm going to use slightly easier words. The mission today, should we choose to accept it, is to realize the divine presence. To open ourselves up to the divine mind, to the divine idea, to God's idea of who we are, to that bliss body. And when I say the bliss body, I'm not just talking about this, I'm also talking about this. And your heart, if you want to go there. To allow God's idea of who you are to comfort your heart, to quiet your mind, and to heal the body of what it needs, to what it needs, to make the most of the material form that you have been given to do with. And everybody's material body is different. We're not all here to do the same thing. So the bodies look different, and that's good. So I don't want to say it's just okay, but it's different. So realize that divine mind, realize that divine idea, and let it in. Let it in. So that's the mission. Same mission every day. We just use different words to get at it. And one day, that mission is going to resonate with you, and you will vibrate yourself on into greatness. Greatness. So, all right, beloveds, I also am going to encourage you to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself. That is a spiritual practice. That is a way to connect with the divine. It is a way to let that divine light in. You deserve it. You deserve your own love. You deserve your own kindness. You deserve your own compassion. It's also creating a habit, creating a default setting, so that no matter what happens, you can respond lovingly, kindly, and compassionately to yourself and to anyone else. Because if you can do it for yourself, you can do it for anybody. It's the truth. It's the truth. People that you love, it's easy. Yourself, a little more challenging. People that get on your nerves, well, that's where the practice comes in. All right, beloveds. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be a small thing. It could be, from there. Start with 3 deep breaths up to a spa day. But do it every day. Do it every day. All right. I also encourage you to engage your mind and your body, unless today is your day of rest. Sunday is my day of rest. That's why I say that. Drink plenty of water. Go get a face full of sun. It looks like it's going to be a gorgeous day today. I got my ivies out to get some sunlight before the weather comes in, like Wednesday. They're going to have to go back to the bathroom then. And open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you do live in heaven right here, right now. It's all around you, all the time. And a good and easy way to find it is to look for the good and praise it. Start small and work your way up. Okay, we are going to have an amazing service for you here at 11 a.m. So I need to get off, go eat breakfast, so that I can do that. And you can catch us right here on Facebook Live at 11 a.m. And then, or in person, if you're in the area, feel free to stop by. And then Reverend David should be on around 5 p.m. I'll be back with you at 9 a.m. So I'm going to encourage you to have a great day, a magical day, a sunny day, a warming day, an enchanting day, a fantastic day, a great day. I think I already said that one. A good day. And if that is too much pressure, simply have a day. Because you are enough, just as you are. All right, beloveds. The cats are all enjoying the sunshine. So enjoy the sunshine. Take care of yourself. Know that you are loved. And I will see you soon.